Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Moswitz, my all-time most favorite ghost ever, Jen Albanese, who I always can start laughing at the beginning of the podcast.
Holy moly, you just blew us away. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I actually think I have my volume up massively loud.
So now you can't hear anymore?
It's okay. It's great. It's great. Oh my God.
It's a 50-50 shot if you're going to laugh at the beginning of the introduction.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a 99.9% shot that I'm going to laugh, but that's the best part.
We have Aaron Rudy today, who
love him.
Great guy. Started off his roots with us,
yes.
which many of our guests have, which has been nice. It's was a football manager, got into the world of marketing and fan engagement, and now he has made a huge career overseeing a big operation at UC Santa Barbara. So super excited to have him today and
it'll be
hear
great.
all about it.
Yeah, it'll be great to talk with him. He has some great ideas, and he was such a great asset to our staff when he was with us. So proud of him on what he's been doing. So he's been great.
So when I think of Aaron, I think of him being the head football manager, which is like the
same. Yeah.
So to start off, all-time best memory of football.
Oh my God! Can you go first?
Sure. Okay. The Clemson win. When everybody jumped the railing recently, I felt like that was I've had a lot of basketball lacrosse moments, but I felt like that one was pretty intense, and you knew it was coming, and the build up, and it was like, okay, and there we go. And it was funny because I was talking to someone right before that. I don't remember when Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and I was like, oh, the Dome is. I was like, it happened earlier than that, and I was like, the Dome is really good at situations like that. And I said something, and I had an administrator that's like, well, don't poo-poo with Vanderbilt, and they go, well, no, they're like, it's. I was like, the Domes we're really good at that, and then it happened a couple months later, so it's the way it goes. But we did a nice job. It was always like a clockwork, got everyone what they needed to do.
Yeah, no, that was such a great, I just remember it was when a moment like that, all worlds collide, everything collides perfectly. It was a Friday night game. It was homecoming weekend, and it was just.
It just had this big buildup.
It did. It had such a big buildup. And honestly, that was one of the coolest ones. That was pretty cool. So that's a hard one to top for me. I would say, I got to go to a couple of fun bowl games. So when we played in the Pinstripe Bowl and we beat Kansas State, that was really cool. It was New York City when you play in Yankee Stadium, and obviously I'm a big Yankee enthusiast, so that was really cool to see that stadium transformed into a football stadium. And obviously now they do it every year, but we were in one of the first couple of bowls that they hosted, and it was New York City got all this snow, a foot of snow, and
I remember the piles on the sidelines.
The field was covered. There was piles, and I got to go on the field, and we won. And so that was a really cool, fun memory. And that was
I think of bowls. I think of us at Camping World putting all the towels on every seat at the Camping World.
I wouldn't say that's my favorite memory.
No, I'm just saying memories.
Yeah. But so I would say that one is probably one of my favorites. I mean, obviously anything in the Dome when it's a big game like that, Clemson. We just had a big one last year when we beat Miami. Yeah. That was really cool. So yeah, those are cool. That big moment feel is always really cool for me. But I would say probably that Pinstripe Bowl one is one of my favorites. And
Aaron probably was the manager at that.
And it's funny that you say that. He probably was. That's so funny. But
because those early Pinstripe Bowls, that was Aaron's time. So
I know.
Well, with that, let's get to see Aaron.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
It's always good to have someone that got their roots with us, and this guy
I
is
know.
great to have. Our guest began his academic journey at Syracuse University, earning a Bachelor's of Science in Sports Management with a minor in Strategic Management in 2013, followed by a Master's of Science in Sport Venue and Event Management in 2016. During his time, he gained early experience with Syracuse Chiefs AAA baseball team, the New York Jets, the San Diego Chargers, while also serving as head manager for the Syracuse football team under head coach Doug Marrone. He went on to build a career in athletics through roles at Syracuse University, Tulane University, and Dartmouth College, consistently setting records in attendance, ticket sales, and fan engagement. His work earned national recognition, including an NACMA Marketing Team of the Year honorable mention and a finalist nod for the Outstanding Special Features documentary. Today, he serves as an Associate Athletic Director for Fan Engagement, Marketing, and Ticketing at UC Santa Barbara, where he has overseen historic growth in ticket sales, sponsorships, and attendance while helping secure the university's first ever NCAA basketball regional bid and hosting international soccer events. With a career defined by innovation, record breaking achievement, and a passion for elevating the fan experience, please welcome to the podcast, Aaron Rudy. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
Hi,
We never
Aaron.
knew when you were back at Cuse, we had high hopes. We knew you were going to good places.
Yeah.
No, really appreciate you guys having me on. And no, Syracuse laid the groundwork for everything of where I'm at today. So very
One of my favorite coworkers slash interns that was in marketing with me for so long, and again another one that we're just so proud and how good you're doing, Aaron. And I love that we still stay in touch, and so great and so happy for you. And I'm glad we get to catch up and do this. So
Yeah, so we're
yeah.
really looking forward to being in all the different parts. You've gone coast to coast, you've been all over the place, and would just like to hear all your
Perfect.
tips and trips. I'm sure people would love to see what's going on. So, with that, let's get started with the first one.
Perfect. So my first one is to be authentic and be kind. I kind of combine the both of them there. But I think that's something that or since COVID, it's kind of like feels like it's gone away a little bit as people are just adjusting back to kind of social norms and whatnot. So it was important for me to have this one as number one. And some of my bullet points here under this are things that I was aware of or first took note of at Syracuse too. So which has been very helpful throughout my career, just being able to build those relationships and really comes down to just saying hi, listening, learning names of people around the department. I knew when I was an intern at Cuse that John Wildhack, when he started, that was something that like anytime I was in the mail room, just getting a cup of water or whatnot, he'd always say, "Hey, Aaron," and ask about my day or ask like just a question where I could tell it wasn't just just I could tell he was actually engaged in listening and retaining what I was saying, which was really cool. And that's something that's always been just tucked in the back of my brain. So I try to practice that. And the same goes for like Sue Edson, Rob Edson, how warm they both are and the relationships they build, and that you can just tell it's real and authentic. And that went a long way to navigate my conversations, my relationships like that. Because it's just nice to know when someone's coming at it from that angle, and it makes me more open to sometimes whether it's helping or just being that person also to lean on. But yeah, and other factors that go into being authentic or being kind in my book, just learning to take accountability as well. I think that's a big thing, especially in the marketing realm. Just you're going to swing and miss, and you want to take accountability. That way, also like you can get that forgiveness, so then you can take a bigger risk next time too. But yeah, yeah, being authentic, being kind, taking care of your people, not being afraid to have real conversations. That's something Jen and Carrie and I always did. We had real conversations in the office, and it made that work-life balance or just work balance that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I feel like it's so apparent when someone is not being authentic. You get that kind of like I think back to history where people will like say the wrong name to someone and like, well, why, if you didn't know their name, maybe you should have just asked to begin with, or like, like
Hmm.
just be, I think people feel like they put on these airs, or like, someone pays attention to you one day and the next day they just walk away from you and don't say hi. Like it's unfortunately like just not a good look. And I feel like those people never really seem to make it very far in what they're doing, just because people pick up on it like so easily. So like, get to know people, be ingrained with them, like be yourself with them. Like, hey, don't try and be something that you're not, because people will figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, be kind. I mean, Aaron, obviously, you, me, and Carrie, we spent a lot of time together, and being kind, like, it's not a hard thing. And
No,
if you can do that with people, you're just going to be more successful in anything that you're trying to do, because people, you're genuine. Like, they're going to want to help you. They're going to want to be on your team. They're going to want to work for you. They say that about coaches. Like, if you want to run through
Yeah.
a brick wall for a coach, you're going to do that. You're going to want to work hard for them. If you believe in them, if they're authentic, if they're kind, like, everyone's going to want to work hard for you, and people can see right through if it's bullshit. You know what I mean? But so I think that that's really important. To be kind. And that's just in life. Like, it doesn't have to be, in work and in life.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
being kind, it sets you apart. And it's crazy to think that people aren't kind to each other. Like, I know that's crazy that we actually even have to give that as a tip, but it is so important, because it gets lost. Again, everybody puts like on blinders, like, oh, it's about me. I got to get, where I need to get
I was
to.
gonna say you got to get ahead of everybody else, and to do that, you
Right.
got to step on
But,
people, or you got to pretend to
right.
be something. Like that's the
But you're
worst.
not going to be successful if you don't have people around you, and those people around you aren't going to help you if you're not authentic and if you're not kind. So, you know,
exactly.
hey, I'm glad that our conversations were real
There
and
you go.
authentic, Aaron.
Right.
I am very glad about that.
I think it's hard
Yeah,
to
and I
get
think
more.
like
No, go ahead, Aaron.
you're good. Oh, well, I was gonna say, like, I think like under this umbrella it comes. And I was doing some research earlier, so I had to change a little bit up. So I saw Nick had one of his tips and tricks where
Yeah.
to put yourself in other people's shoes. So I think like that kind of falls under this. Just
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
Yeah.
being that role model, leading by example, and when you mentioned the running through a brick wall for a head coach, like under this tip or trick, I think of Scott Schaefer too, with the control the controllables. It was
Yeah.
Yeah.
attitude, effort, enthusiasm. Those are the
Yeah.
things you control, and it all goes hand in hand with being authentic, being kind, being that good teammate, and building that positive atmosphere.
Yeah. It's good.
Awesome. Great start. Okay, got number one out of the way. Let's go to number two.
Number two kind of bleeds into this a little bit, but it's a little bit more specific. So I think building genuine relationships with your external squad or external stakeholders. So it's using a lot of those tools, but also then now narrowing it down into working with the communications department, working with facilities, working with the dome staff, working with the sales team, working with the actual teams themselves and the coaching staffs. And then, I mean, there's tons of vendors, concessions, yada, yada, that you're
Yeah.
working with as well. And those would be those stakeholders. But building those genuine relationships. And because because I've seen it, I never wanted to be that person that comes across as, all right, that person's like when you walk in the office, you get the eye roll because I'm just going to ask for a favor. I don't want to be that person that's always asking for favors. Sure, I know that that's going to come about. It's inevitable that we're going to need help and we're going to need to lean on each other. But I don't want that being the first step of that relationship. So it's getting ahead of that and building those relationships by just having genuine conversations and showing that you care, learning how individuals tick, learning what their interests are, and then it starts gearing more towards a professional life of like, how do they professionally operate? What hats do they wear? That way you can be more strategic when it comes to actually planning something holistically. Because then now you're taking into account how those individuals work. So if you need to shift some of the execution around to play to their strengths, you can. And again, it comes down to asking questions, showing that you care, and you want to be that helpful partner / teammate. And an example I thought for this one is just like One, I've never been at a place that has better operation meetings than Syracuse. I'm sure those are still, with Maury's still there, so I'm
Nice
sure that's
job,
still
Maury.
rolling hot.
Thank
right?
Nice job,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maury. Nice
No,
job.
I will
it's so
go back.
serious.
Rob Edson, probably, and
Yes.
you talk about people. I was talking the other day, the memos that my staff still puts out. We're memo heavy and we're operational meeting heavy. I will credit to Rob Edson.
Oh,
Cool.
love that.
That's cool.
Love that.
And I mean, but it comes down to those meetings, like, because we built those relationships. Like the one example that was a fun one for me, that when I'm just thinking back down memory lane, is we'd sit in the Dome operations meeting, and I don't know if it was through Maury or through Jen, but I learned that Pete was a dog person or dog guy.
Yeah.
And so we pitched the Doggy Dome Day.
Yeah.
To tug on those heartstrings. And it's working with Mark, working with Maury, working with Mike at the time, and Gumby, just like, then now how do we make that happen? And coming with solutions, not problems, because we're already thought ahead of it. But we're all laughing throughout these conversations because we've built those relationships. And they know that you're going to be able to hold your weight through that because you came so prepared. So kind of all blends together there. But I think when you narrow it down, being authentic and being kind, then that plays into building these relationships and then strategizing properly.
No, that's awesome.
Solutions, not problems. We love to say that because everybody can come with, ideas, but if you don't know how to execute that idea and like truly be a part of the process of doing it, and you just say, here you go, here's Doggy Day, and then walk away from it, like to be really involved in it and understand what it takes and the logistics behind it. That's solutions, not problems. You're coming as a solution oriented person who they're going to understand that you have those relationships that you're building. They're going to want to be a part of that process. So,
well, it's also like that team mentality. Like I think there's always those two different people are like, okay, well, I came up with this idea and have fun with it. And then they walk away from it and they don't own it. And they don't it basically is like, you're supposed to like adopt their idea as your own. And it's never the same. And that's like the difference, like you were talking about, asking for favors I find it's funny because people will be like, hey, I need a favor. We need to do this like for an event. I want to be like, well, no, that's not a favor. That's what we do. That's our job. That's why we're here together. No, I think it's a good point because I always be like, listen, that's not a favor. Like I'm happy to help you. And I try and remind them like, that's what my role is. And like, I want to be a part of the team and like make sure that people feel like a part of it. And I feel like a huge part of my job is going out of my way and saying hi to the DPS officers and like saying, going in and stopping in the communications office. And like you said, building these relationships that like, maybe it's not a long conversation. Maybe it's just like, oh, how was your day? Or you go back and they say, hey, my daughter got married, and you ask how the wedding went or whatever it is. It's that's like a huge difference maker. And, it's really important. And I think people just don't see the value in it. And I think it's a great example of what to do when you're in these roles.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Good
awesome. One. Okay. We're on to number 3, Jen. Keep me on track.
Number three.
All right. This one I learned when I interned with the Jets. I remember having dinner towards the end of training camp and asking for my bosses who was in the operations department. I asked them for what their best tip or trick was. And they said to put yourself where the problems can occur. So that's something that I've kept with me and that still holds true to this day with what I do. And I'm sure with what you both do. And it kind of plays into also positioning your staff for success, I think, too, as well. But I'm where I was able to hone in on it is, especially it was at Syracuse, because I think that internship was like my junior year. So as the head manager with Coach Marrone, my delegation had to be like top notch with my student workers. So being able to delegate and then also then put myself in the spots where I knew there might be some cracks was huge, especially with that staff. So just understanding your team's strengths and also like leading by example and not being afraid to get your hands dirty. There's still times that I'll go down to the giveaway tables and help out with some certain giveaways just because I know maybe it's something that's high demand and some of these students might be more introverted and afraid to talk to fans who might have some other things to say about not getting their giveaway or whatnot. So I'll go down there and try to help navigate those conversations professionally, or with our sales department at work, I'll help with proofreading or writing up renewal emails just to show I care and also just get the job done too, but also help it be a learning moment for my staff. But yeah, and Jen knows, Jen was always on the court still and helping us and making us feel confident while we're down there. But it's still doing that. And like, I'll be playing music. I'll run down the court and help catch a rebound because I can tell that they're not guarding the team or the away team. And so I'm booking it down
all
there
over the place.
Oh my God. The biggest fear. I don't want the other team to get hit by a basketball. Yes.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
100%. Yes. Oh my God.
So it's that. And the show, like and there's a balance to it, and there's balance to all these tips and tricks. But like, I'm not micromanaging. I want to show that I care, that I have standards, and that I can lead by example. And I think it ends up going a long way, just to rally the troops. So.
Yeah. Leading by example is something that I try to do every day, because you do have younger people around you, and hopefully people that are listening have people that they can look up to that, you see what you want to be in them. Like, like Aaron, you said exactly what I try to say all the time. Like, if I need to jump in and roll a t-shirt, or if I need to toss a t-shirt, or I need to help with a promotion on the court, like I'm willing to do that, because everybody should always be willing to do that, because that's where we started, and that's part of growing and teaching and being a good team player. And Maura, you just said that, like, part of being a part of a team. Like, we work in sports, it's all about the team. So, we get that. But I love that of like leading by example and in all areas and all aspects. I think that's super important for leaders and for people that are just getting into the industry to find those leaders that you want to learn from and see their examples. So I think that's
I also think it's amazing, like, so early on in your career, you figured out that, there's times that you have to interject yourself in, and that's not against the people that, are underneath of you or against it. Like, there is that fine line where you need to know, like, hey, I need to be the one that's in this firing line, be the human shield of this, or take this on, because not that the person's not ready, but it's not the appropriate place for that person to be. It's not helping them. They don't have the authority to deal with it. They don't have the background to deal with it, whatever it is. And that doesn't mean it's not a teachable moment for them. And you go back and say, like, hey, you did a great job. I felt like I need to get involved. Here's the things that I did to help, deal with this. And so that, the next time when it comes up, but I didn't feel like it was the best thing to put you in that position. And I think a lot of times, people are afraid to do it. They're afraid they'll undermine it. Or sometimes I feel like people are lazy and they just don't want to deal with things with that. Really bothers me. That's the worst. That's the worst. But I will say I've also lately, and this is, it's kind of gone the other side of it, where I feel like my presence will overwhelm the situation. And I've gone to my staff lately, and this has only been over the last couple of years, and said, hey, why don't you write that email instead of me? Like, it probably will come better from you, because if it's coming from me, there's probably going to be this heightened sense of like something's happening just because of where I rest in the organization. And I've done that a lot more, to say like, hey guys, why don't you reach out to that person or have the first conversation? And if it doesn't work well, bring me back into it, and we'll, bring me into it, and I'll help work through it with everybody. But I feel like that has been super successful to, like, not take the dynamic off or hold it back. So just knowing where people are at, like you said, and like being the right person that's when you need to interject, or even sometimes step out of it or make sure someone else steps in. I think it's a great tip for people to know, especially if you're taking on a managerial role. Because I think so many people think, it's just natural to come into it. It is not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. So awesome.
No. And you're installing that, like you mentioned, you're installing that confidence too. So
right.
That's super helpful. And then that creates that value, and then it's just a trickle down effect in a positive way. So
awesome.
Exactly.
But yeah, for sure.
No, awesome tip. Okay, number 4.
Number 4, yes.
Number 4. Okay, one left before the big one.
All right, number 4. This one's a little shorter for me, but I have it's changed a little bit throughout my career, but it's making sure you leave wherever you're at better than where you found it. And my first bullet under this is just like, and it could be even the tip or the trick of this is to find your North Star. And that's kind of what my North Star is currently. And it's not like I'm thinking of exiting or whatnot, but like it's more about installing those standards and keeping those standards in place and that sustainability. And whenever things are going to get toxic, things are going to get weird. So it's falling back on that North Star to be able to keep positive, stay the course, and remember like what you built and to keep going. So it's just building those sustainable foundations and for me personally, those revolve usually around consistency, efficiency, and effectiveness. Just always just having standards, and then that goes back into leading by example and like knowing when to run down to the court to help out and making sure my workers, my interns, my full-timers know that those standards are in place and that I'll do what I can to make sure that I'm sticking with it. So I want them to be able to put that work in to have those standards as well.
Yeah. Go ahead, Maury. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know you've been to a couple places. And so like one of the questions I have about that is one of the things I think is always interesting is like transitioning into a new place and like getting them to know it. So like, how do you first like assess the standards that are there? And then how do you work with them in a comfortable way to like say, hey, how are we going to develop this as the group of who we are now? Because I think a lot of people can screw that up really easily. Like they can just be like, this is what, tell people what they need to do. Don't feel any ownership to something. And clearly, like you said, like it's a difference between installing standards and having people buy into it compared to, and leaving with that and leaving a legacy of that compared to just speaking at people and expecting them to listen. So.
For sure. It's as much as I'd love to observe sometimes, this current stop, I was thrown immediately into the fire, and that's probably more the case than not, especially in the marketing world, unless you're finding something in the summer. So I was thrown right into the fire, and it was finding that balance, and it was every day a little bit of rolling the dice because I want to get stuff done. I want to implement my work, and we're getting right into basketball season maybe at that time, and I want to get going because we don't really have time to be patient.
Yeah.
But it's finding out how to be patient, how to observe while still getting the job done, and also sometimes like learning. It's not lowering your standards, but also like being realistic with the approach, and knowing when making those educated decisions of when you can take a hit and when you can't take a hit.
Right.
And at this point in my career, it's more just instinct, so it's hard for me to really explain like what that is. But I just know like between whether it's someone I'm managing or myself personally of when I can let something go, and then make sure I'm taking mental notes of that, and I'll reevaluate or add that back into the mix the next time around.
Yeah, like what battle you're going to pick to fight. What's worth it and what's not worth it. I literally had this conversation with one of my staff members today. Is this the sword we want to die on? Is this what we're going to fight, like what we're going to fight the battle for? Like, let's fight the battle for resources over something tiny or whatever it is, like being able to figure that out. And you're right, it is kind of instinct, and it's seeing like how the organization is set up. But yeah, that's such a key piece to learning that, and that just takes practice of learning like what's worth fighting for and what's worth letting go.
You know what's funny for me? It's been less fighting more recently in dealing with this stuff because I recently had a transition into doing something. It's more like what's the bandwidth and ability of the group that you're with, and and not about all the other factors in it, but like. I want to move the needle for this group. I don't want to overwhelm them, but I know there's certain things that we really need to change like immediately. Like we had to sit down with the person I was supervising. I was like, okay, what do we need to do right now? What do we need to work towards? And like, what is our long-term strategy? And by kind of going through those 3 things, it seemed to make more sense, but like, it's hard because I think a lot of us, I know Aaron, I know no, Jen, like we're doers. We want to get stuff done. We want to like
Doers.
make the progress of it. But the reality is that you can so easily turn people off or you
Mm-hmm.
can overwhelm them if you're not, taking the time and helping them get to it. And again, my other experience has been is when you do that, when you force it, you end up having to just keep repeating it because now that
Mm-hmm.
person has not it like I love the part that you said instilling your system. It doesn't become a
Hmm.
system, it just becomes a one-time behavior.
Right.
And the fact that you said like, hey, I leave a mark because when I'm gone that system still exists because we inherited that as a
Hmm.
group is so different than like we just did that thing. And
Exactly.
I feel like that's such a good example and so important and so something that people need to understand about the process.
For sure. And I think a lot of it, like, it's learning to not be impulsive. It's learning not to be reactionary. It's
Yes.
learning
Oh my gosh,
to,
yes.
to take those mental notes and it's, yeah, choosing those battles and playing off strengths and playing off look, I've gotten to a point in my career where typically now I can operate in a way that's like 5 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead,
Yeah.
or at least a couple steps ahead. And so I like to be in that world. And then at the end of the day, like when, yeah, there's times in my career early on, like especially going from Syracuse, New York, and then ripping the Band-Aid off and going down to New Orleans. I was like a bull in a china shop down there for a second. So it's just super, super hungry and driven, but then dealing with the Southern culture, it was like a big learning process. Best decision I ever made, but like had to learn real quick not to be so impulsive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
that's yeah, all plays into that.
Awesome.
I
Well,
love
those
it.
were great tips.
All
Well,
right.
Jen, bring us
Okay.
in.
Aaron, what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So, what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
Yeah, so this one was tough because there's some very plain things I could throw out there, of like knowing Photoshop. I think that'd be huge, but I didn't want to. It didn't seem like a fun conversation to have. So I think specifically to working in just collegiate athletics and marketing for sure. One thing that's super helpful and has been super helpful for me, and I almost wish I knew it a little bit earlier, was just gaining some level of sales experience. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's huge, and it's not only from it's I think for any facet of working in collegiate athletics, it's big. And I was lucky enough to work in the box office my sophomore year, and I did like a summer internship there with Jeremiah at the time,
Yep. Yep.
and I think they'd give me like decade-old lists of people that had season tickets like way back in the day. And so I'd be getting on the phones, and I was fearless at that point because I was also the student manager. So I'd get on the phones with those individuals, and it was more like a game and almost like a mental chess match of like trying
Yeah.
to find the right triggers of like how to calm them down, and then also like really pitch how good this team's about to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that I had a lot of fun with it, and I went into it very like wide open, but like learning how to navigate those conversations,
Mm-hmm.
it's only helped throughout my career, and especially in the marketing realm, because then now I'm learning how to see it full circle with big picture plans when it comes to a theme day, but like incorporating ticket sales and group sales and on that side of things, or on those side of things, but also just personally, like, it forces you to be uncomfortable. So then it's good to kind of rip that Band-Aid off and learn how to be uncomfortable and get comfortable with it. And it also just helps navigate like conversations when it comes to one, when you're looking for jobs and when you're interviewing, but also it helps with just recruiting and finding talent and
Mm-hmm.
actually trying to bring candidates in. I've probably batting like a 90% on everybody that I've wanted throughout my career, and it's because of learning how to like kind of really strip down that conversation and make it real, and find out what their interests are, and really just get that conversation rolling in a way that works for them as well. So yeah, I think working and having some sales experience is huge, just because it's super universal. So.
Yeah, I was going to say everything. And I mean, across all sports, college athletics specifically, but you're always selling, like no matter what department you're working in, you're selling the teams. That's a revenue we're a revenue business. Like we're trying to make money. So everybody from the communications team to the creative team, to the social team, to the marketing team, to the sales team, to fan engagement team, to the facilities team, you're all part of a sales process and making that fan experience good for people. So having that sales experience is a great basis for most sports jobs. So that's a good one. That's a good one.
No. Awesome. Well, Erin, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
We are so happy to see you. So happy for your success and all you've done. And we know you're doing great things out there on the West Coast. So we really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's great catching up, and hopefully we'll keep staying in touch. Like very, very honored that to be on the show and
absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're so proud of you, Erin. I love that we get to stay in touch and see your success. So thank you for doing this. And everybody, thank you for listening. Make sure you're liking and following us on all your podcast platforms and social platforms at Ath Career Pod. And new episodes drop every Tuesday. Thank you, everybody. And thanks, Erin. Bye, guys.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.